Hello, my name is Marcus Kemmelmeyer, and I'm a professor of social psychology at the University of Nevada, Reno. I'm the guest editor of the special section Cultural Differences in Survey Responding here in the International Journal of Psychology. This special section comprises 4 papers by international authors who all tackle the issue of response biases in international and cross-cultural surveys. Specifically, these authors focus on acquiescent responding, extreme responding, and socially desirable responding. The first paper in the special section is by Hay and van de Vijver. These authors challenge the assumption that is implicit in much of the research on response biases, namely that it's primarily an issue that affects attitudinal survey items. However, these authors demonstrate in a large sample of 150,000 respondents from 22 countries that it also affects self-reports of facts and self-reports of one's own behavior. The second paper in this special section is by Bu Malam and Saucier, and it's on the conceptual link between socially desirable responding and cultural normativity. Socially desirable responding is often considered a form of response distortion, except, as the authors point out in a broad review, that socially desirable responding is also meaningfully associated with many important psychological outcomes. These authors then propose that socially desirable responding really reflects cultural normativity and the extent to which a particular respondent is really in sync with the norms and expectations of one's culture. As a result, these authors suggest that by suppressing socially desirable responding, researchers might in effect be suppressing the very aspect of a culture that they might be interested in. The third paper in the special section is by Peter Smith, and he leads a group of more than 60 co-authors. These authors investigate response styles, again in a very large sample gleaned from 55 cultural groups, and in which they investigate acquiescent responding and extreme responding across 2 types of response modes. These authors relate those response biases to 7 dimensions of a very new measure of independence and interdependence. And this new measure really makes broader distinctions where previous measures really confounded them. The authors paint a very differentiated picture of individual level and cross-cultural level correlates across different cultural dimensions and across different response modes. Ultimately, these authors demonstrate that one size does not fit all, and that researchers who are concerned with response biases in their surveys really must engage in a very thorough measurement. The fourth and last paper in this special section is by Benitez Bahia, Hay, and van de Vijver. These authors focus on extreme responding in 2 countries, Spain and the Netherlands. And these authors propose a mixed methods approach in which they combine quantitative and qualitative evidence. What these authors do is they first glean evidence of extreme responding from qualitative quality of life measures in representative samples from both countries. Then they use the very same items and give them to small samples of in their respective countries and observe them in across cognitive interviews. What emerges is a really much better and very detailed understanding how respondents from either culture really grapple with the different items and how precisely they respond to them. And that often affects questions such as whether authors really examine and respond to questions in isolation, or whether they really look at interpret the questions in the context of all of the questions that are being presented with. Ultimately, this special section offers a glimpse at the current state of the art in research and response styles in cross-cultural survey research. Response styles are often considered a nuisance. However, as I hope the present papers illustrate, response styles can and probably should be conceptualized an aspect of cultural behavior themselves. In other words, response styles themselves do reflect cultural behavior.